This time it's an update on what happened to our Moto Guzzi Breva Big Red after it broke down on the Italian trip. Those of you who watched our video where we went down to Mandello del Lario in our Guzzis will remember I had problems with my Guzzi Big Red, which is a Breva 1100, which is a bike about 18 years old now. Now I have used the bike several times on trips to Europe over the years, but this is the first time she's actually broken down and left me at the side of the road. So a unique experience, but definitely not a happy one. And this of course meant that we had to complete the trip squeezed onto the Guzzi V7, while the Breva chilled out in a Swiss garage. And of course I'm very pleased to say that although it was a little cosy, the rest of the trip went pretty well and we got from Italy and back without any more problems. But what about the Breva, you might well ask? Well, eventually she was delivered back to us about 3 weeks after we got home. So the following day I thought I'd spend a little bit of time trying to investigate the problem, desperately hoping that I wouldn't find an expensive problem, which would of course mean terminal. So I removed the cover on the ignition switch you can see the bottom of there, tested the voltage across the terminals and found that it was reduced. So I ran a piece of wire to short the terminals, effectively hot wiring the bike, and whammo, she was back to life. So I scoured the internet and found a supplier in Holland that had one of the switches available, which also includes the plug. The terminals on the plug were not in good condition at all, I found. This done and the bike came back to life. What I did find was the only way to access the connector block was to remove the fuel tank. And replacing the fuel tank on a Breva is fairly simple. And the connector you saw, which runs halfway up the pipe, is one that I put in because the connector that goes into the fuel tank itself is dodgy. There's then a couple of breather pipes, then there's this connector block which powers the fuel pump and the fuel gauge. With all those connected, it's a simple matter of spending a few minutes reassembling the bike. Because being a Moto Guzzi, with the notable exception of removing the clutch, most jobs are easy and access is in general very good. And so it's time just to fire the beast up. Brilliant. Ready for next year.